In this video today, we're going to talk about question 5, the evaluation question, also known as the multiple sources evaluation question. It will always be question 5 and always be the 10 marks question. The advice here is for you to do question 1 to 4 first, because in the midst of doing questions 1 to 4, you would be already analyzing all the sources in the various skills that is being asked, and you would have a better understanding of the topic that the SBQ is actually asking about. So by the time you reach question 5, it will be actually easier for you to evaluate all the sources with reference to a statement. So the way I see question 5 is that it is a mini essay. So this mini essay, if you write an essay in maybe your geography or history paper, you usually will need to unpack the question, the keywords in the statement, before you come up with some kind of argument to make your stand, to substantiate your stand and position, just like in your English essays. So when the question is a mini essay, that means that it is actually arguments. It is about developing ideas. The easy thing about question 5, because at the end of the day, it is still a SBQ question, means that there is actually sources for you to help you think about arguments. So this argument is based on sources. But the way you write it, when we mark it, we want to see that you are developing the argument. So think of it like a mini essay, a scaffolded guided essay. Okay, so that means that it is actually not just writing the claim, the evidence, and explanation like a message question. The structure might look the same, but the way you explain must go a bit more deeper, more value add. Alright, so I see that a lot of students like to just write agree, disagree, then the claim, evidence, explanation, but there is no link to the statement or a value add in development of the argument, that the source that you have chosen to write the claim on. You need to go one step further. Okay, later I'm going to show you an example. Okay, so in case it's not clear, alright, the structure that we use to make your answer clearer is actually to have a stand, alright, to show that you agree or disagree, okay, reason, alright, why you agree or why you disagree, which means that there's actually relation to the statement. Okay, so while you say I agree with the statement, you need to keep in mind what exactly is the statement about. Alright, and then we have evidence as well as explanation. Alright, explanation, we need to unpack the evidence that you have chosen. Alright, so the evidence and the explanation is linked, just like how the explanation will be a further elaboration of this reason. So when your reason is vague at the start, right, it is fine as long as later on in the explanation you manage to unpack and give further development about this reason. Okay, so how it looks like, it will be I agree or disagree with the statement because of a reason. Alright, so most of you might know this reason as the claim. Alright, because basically it's based on the source. Alright, so it's like a claim. So this statement, the first statement over here, I agree because of what, must make sense. It cannot just be a random claim from the source, but it must be in relation to the statement. Then you give me your evidence and then explanation, which just now I mentioned will be based on unpacking this evidence that you have quoted. So don't just skim through the evidence. The statement that you choose to copy and paste in your evidence is important because it will affect the explanation. And the explanation part is the part that the marker will decide if you really understand what you're writing about. Okay, so this is the rough idea. To give an example, so this is the paper that we just did. Okay, so okay, my advice would be, because since it's an essay, right, that means that you will need to somehow, to some extent, unpack the statement. So the statement we have here is Singaporeans are comfortable with the revised healthcare uniform policy. So by the time you reach question 5, if this is a full paper, you would have known that this revised revised healthcare uniform policy would be that now they allow, all right, nurses to wear tudong. Okay, so this part should be very clear, but the part that you need to unpack would be Singaporeans are comfortable. So very quickly, right, if this is just an essay that doesn't have a set of sources for you to analyze, you probably start thinking along the lines of who are these Singaporeans, all right? Is it, because we're talking about tudongs, right? Is it just the Muslims, all right? So maybe Muslims, there's nurses, there's non-nurses, okay? And perhaps, all right, you can also talk about the non-Muslim Singaporeans. Okay, and because we're talking about in a hospital setting, so there's the nurses and non-nurses, okay, there is also, all right, the patients. So are they comfortable or not? Then the other word, of course, that we need to unpack would be comfortable. What makes someone comfortable, and how do you know if they are comfortable or not? So in this context, right, okay, in case you're intimidated that we're taking very long on this should come really quickly, like in 2 minutes or so in the test, because you would already know the context of the SBQ by this time. So comfortable, you will be in the context, right? You're in the zone, so you would know that, okay, certain things that we can talk about, perhaps, all right, it is about the relationship, okay, between Muslims, all right, and non-Muslims. Okay, so this is along the line of the multiracial society, or in this case, sorry, multi-religious society. All right, we want it to be harmonious. All right, so the opposite will probably, if the people are uncomfortable, probably means that there are tensions. All right, so the opposite will be, we probably will talk about tensions, we will talk about disharmony. All right, the relationship is not good. Okay, but then we also know that some sources, they did talk about, there might be other more practical reasons, all right, in terms of, because it's a hospital, so in a hospital, does it affect, all right, professionalism? Okay, what do you mean by professionalism? Does wearing the tudong affect, all right, the ability, all right, the ability to carry out your duties? Okay, your duties or your job, basically. Okay, so this is nothing to do with religion or not, but it's more of if this would cause some kind of hassle or difficulty, challenges in carrying out your role as a nurse. Okay, so these are things that, okay, this is not exhaustive, maybe there are more, but it would be advisable for you guys to think about unpacking the statement. Okay, unpacking the statement before you start writing. So these are possible reasons. So whatever I just listed out, right, all these are possible reasons which we talk about here. Okay, possible reasons that you can think of without the sources. But of course, you realize that when I'm writing all this, right, because we already did the paper, we already read through the sources, you have some ideas that actually these are possible reasons for why Singaporeans may or may not be comfortable with nurses wearing tudongs. Okay, so let me give you an example, all right, in the paper. Okay, the example that I thought was very good for you to look at is actually source D, because it's just a poster, and they tell you that it is a picture of a healthcare professional, all right, so this person is a healthcare professional in tudong, published on change.org, all right, so it is a website that allows public to promote petitions for causes they care about. And in this poster, you see a lady, all right, wearing a tudong, and from, okay, her dressing, you know that she is or rather, actually don't need to see the dressing. They already tell you it's a healthcare professional. And the label here says that, okay, we don't care what's on your head. So source D is quite obvious that they are actually saying that this source, or rather, based on this source, you can come up with the reason that they agree, all right, the stand is agree, okay, that Singaporeans are actually comfortable with healthcare professionals wearing their tudong, all right, and your claim, how does it sound like? Many answers that I see, students like to say because, let me just write it down. because, okay, Singaporeans do not mind nurses wearing tudong. Okay, the issue with this question, this statement, this reason, is because you are merely, okay, when you say you do not mind, you are just paraphrasing the source. Okay, you are just paraphrasing the source, and this is a very common mistake in students' answers, because the moment you paraphrase, you are not giving an argument, you are not developing this idea that is in the source. Okay, so when you write this, it is paraphrasing not just the source actually, you are also paraphrasing the statement that this is uncomfortable. So if I put it in one whole sentence, right, it will sound a bit stupid, because it will sound like, I agree that Singaporeans are comfortable with the revised healthcare uniform policy because Singaporeans do not mind nurses wearing tudong. Okay, so it's a bit like you are repeating in circles. Okay, so that's what I mean by when you write your statement, you must be clear. If you don't want to write out the statement, you must be clear that, like, what is this statement that you're talking about, and this sentence must make sense. Okay, so how do you answer that? So let's look at the answer. And let me just look for it. Okay, source D, agree. Okay, so based on this answer, okay, how did I answer it? Alright, I agree, so this is the stand. Okay, I agree with the statement because allowing the tudong for nurses does not affect their professionalism. So I have a very clear reason over here. Alright, that, okay, why is it allowed? Because we know that this tudong will not affect, alright, their professionalism. So when I mark, right, if this is just a student's answer, I will expect that later on, this word professionalism must be unpacked and explained. Okay, so source D shows a poster of a healthcare worker in a tudong, where a label, okay, states that we don't care what's on your head. So now I want to unpack this. Okay, so I want to unpack this here. Okay, so they say that this suggests that religious symbols like the tudong is not a concern, alright, not a concern for patients. This is like the don't mind part. Patients don't mind. Singaporeans don't mind it. Okay, but I need to go further. Patients would be more interested, alright, in the abilities of these, alright, abilities in the healthcare aspect, such as, okay, so this part is clearly I'm developing. Okay, what do I mean by abilities? Like injecting, applying injection, alright, without pain, okay, for patients, alright, and with the tudong, this ability to apply an injection, for example, okay, can still be carried out, so it doesn't really affect their job. So they are still able, alright, to do their job professionally or the way that they are supposed to do. So that's why, alright, I agree with the statement, because this will not affect basically their ability to carry out their duties. Okay, so I hope that you can see that, that is what I mean by I expand the argument, alright, I am developing it. I did not just merely stop at, oh, they do not mind, because the professionalism part is not in this source. You don't see that they are saying professionalism, but it is implied. So you need to infer that part, okay, and don't just paraphrase. If you just stop here, alright, it is not enough. Okay, there is something more that you need to develop. Okay, so this is an example of what I mean by value adding to the argument, and that is what you need to do. So if some of you need some guideline, right, I would say that, okay, you follow this structure, and of course you say I agree, okay, not the source agree, the source can't agree with anything, alright, so I agree with the statement because of blah blah blah, alright, and some kind of guideline that you need. Perhaps you can say that, this explanation part maybe around 2 sentences, okay. Yeah, the pen is a sparkly pen. Alright, so around 2 sentences if you need to, because I see that if you force yourself to write 2 sentences, I think more or less you might be forcing yourself to explain. The moment you see that you're just writing 1 sentence, there is a very, very high chance, maybe 99% of the chance that you are just paraphrasing. Okay, so I hope this video helps.